This episode of the School Zone podcast is brought to you by School Spirit Vending, hassle-free year-round fundraising for your school. At School Spirit Vending, we do all the work. You cash the check. Hey, School Zone podcast listeners. This is Matt coming at you from Stephenville, Texas, and excited to have yet another amazing entrepreneur on to talk about their business and how it helps schools across America. I've got none other than Howard Gottlieb of Read-a-Thon with me here today. And Howard and I got a chance to know each other a little bit this last summer at a couple of Texas events, both TEPSA and the PTA, and was just really excited about his program and its ability to not only help impact kids in a positive way through encouraging them to read, but also to help schools get away from the traditional fundraiser that so many of them have done for years and are looking for something new. So Howard, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself, give a little bit of background, about your time in the industry working with schools and how you got Read-a-Thon started.
Okay. I appreciate you having us on. Before we started Read-a-Thon, we also own a company called Easy Fundraising Ideas. We've had that for about 11 years. Over those 11 years, it's been the busiest online product fundraising website on the internet. So we are intimately knowledgeable about product fundraising, have seen its ups and downs, see its success rates and all of that stuff. And we noticed that product fundraising at the elementary school and PTA level about 10 years ago probably peaked and results started diminishing. About 7 years ago, I stumbled across the domain readathon.com and bought it. Really didn't do anything with it. And then about 4 years ago, we said, boy, that's a pretty good domain. Maybe we could come up with a better option for elementary schools. So we went into development on that system, spent about a year to 15 months developing it. It's now been at market for about 2.5 years. The success is unbelievable at the PTA and elementary school level. In fact, I believe if our retention rate of prior customers isn't 100%, it's probably 99%. So the feedback we get is it's the easiest fundraiser they've done, it makes sense, and they get the best results of any fundraising option they've done in years. So we love the program, just developing an enormous amount of tools. So very excited going forward.
Very cool. So you got this URL. Sounds like you're like me. I like to pick up URLs along the way too and hope someday that I'll do something with them. How did you go from URL to launching this company and obviously launching it wildly successfully at this point?
Well, a side note, long ago, before PayPal was out, I also owned a different domain called Donation Fundraiser. And we built that out as a platform for individual fundraising, kind of like a GoFundMe. In fact, it was a GoFundMe before GoFundMe was there. It predated PayPal and the ability to take small transactions, so it failed. I've since met the owner of GoFundMe, and he failed about the same time we dropped the concept. He stuck with it through a third cycle and then finally took off. We decided that there was a good way to raise money for schools if the focus was in general like a GoFundMe, but it was specific to reading. So we took conceptually what we had done with Donation Fundraiser and said, well, let's apply it to Read-a-Thon. And as it turned out, the model as it exists is nothing like we had envisioned from the beginning of development. We've so simplified the system. It really is a fabulous fundraiser that we're extremely proud of. And our goal currently is that it will be in every one of, at last count, I think we have a database of 128,000 elementary schools in the U.S. Our goal is it's appropriate for all of them, and our goal, frankly, is to be in all of them. That every school just says, it's that time of year, we're going to start our Read-a-Thon. So that's our goal.
So what kind of success stories are you're obviously having a ton of success at the school level. What kind of success stories anecdotally are you hearing about the kids and maybe, inspiring some of them to read that's always maybe been a challenge up to that point?
Well, I've got a great story. If someone cares to see it, we actually have it on video on our homepage. There's a little elementary school called Richland Elementary in West Memphis, Arkansas. And they historically did product fundraisers. About 2 years ago, they stumbled on our website, and a lady named Elizabeth Williams said, well, I'm going to take a chance, and I'm going to drop our product fundraiser. I'm going to try your program. They went from raising about $10,000 or $12,000. They raised $42,000 with our program. But on the reader side, there was a young girl. Boy, I wish I could remember her name now, but her video's on the site. She is a dyslexic young lady who had a lot of trouble reading, but she really embraced our Read-a-Thon program. The video on the site, we've got a testimonial from her mother at how proud the young lady was at the results of the Read-a-Thon. And as she was getting donations and encouraging comments were left on her Read-a-Thon page, she was more and more excited about it. As it turned out, she was the highest individual fundraiser at the school. And to look at the little girl and her mother just glowing about the results, that our program's designed, it's not a contest, it's a focus on reading. So someone who struggles with dyslexia has an equal chance to be successful. In fact, struggling readers are even better candidates to find people who will support them. So that's probably one of the stories that we're most proud of, and have it on our website.
That's awesome. Yeah, I've had a passion for inspiring kids to read for a number of years. In fact, in relation or in conjunction with our program, I hired a couple of young guys to start writing and developing comic books. And because I was inspired to reading comic books when I was growing up. And so we now make those available to many of the kids in our schools, and hopefully, we'll help inspire some to read as well. So that's awesome. That's really, really exciting. Hey, Howard, let's do this. Let's go ahead and take a short break. And when we come back, I want to talk a little bit more specifically about how your program works, what an ideal school is for you guys, and some of those details to give a little bit more specific background to educators, administrators, or volunteers who might be listening to this and saying, man, this is a great idea. I want to know more. So we'll be right back with Howard Gottlieb of Read-a-Thon. Are you an educator, administrator, or school volunteer looking for a simpler way to raise money for your school? Let School Spirit Vending put their hassle-free year-round fundraising program to work for you. School Spirit Vending. We do all the work. You cash the check. Go to schoolspiritvending.com/school zone for all the details. All right, we're back. So Howard, take a minute and kind of explain a little bit about who your ideal school is and how you implement the program, that type of thing.
Ideal school is anybody with readers from 2 years old up to 8th grade that needs to raise money and really doesn't have the time to manage or handle a product fundraiser. With our system, we created a program that a school will hold 10 reading sessions that they control. Readers can read at home, they can read at school, but the basis of the program is that each reader will complete 10 reading sessions. Sessions are anywhere from 10 to 30 minutes based on age. The most successful schools read in class. Some of them will take a subject like history and say, for 2 weeks, we're going to read our history books in class, and that's going to be our reading session. So with the focus on reading for 2 weeks, we provide the fundraising administrator a very complete starter kit. It gives them everything they need at no cost. We send 2 sets of reader take-home sheets to tell parents about the Read-a-Thon. We send reminder bracelets so that the first day that they send home materials, they also put a lime green bracelet on the wrist of the child, and the bracelet says, "Ask about my Read-a-Thon sheet." So when the child gets home, hopefully the parents say, "What's the bracelet?" They read it, they get the Read-a-Thon sheet. In about a minute, the parent and the child build their personal Read-a-Thon page, and then using our tools, they reach out to friends and family on social media, email, and text, and tell them about their child's participation in the Read-a-Thon. We also ask the parent to sponsor their child. So basically, in about 3 minutes, the average person can put their Read-a-Thon program in front of an average of about 350 people in their social circles and their email address books. So there's no other fundraiser out there that in that short of a period of time that a parent can promote their fundraiser. Now, we direct friends and family to a reader donate page that explains the reader's participation in the program, and we ask them to sponsor the child by making a flat lump sum one-time donation. Over the last 24 months, the average donation is $28. Interestingly, the highest single donation we've gotten was $1,500. And to show you the potential, so far the record for one individual is 68 different sponsors.
Wow.
So in very little time and very little effort, the parent doesn't have to sell anything, but can tell the world about their child's participation. Now, this week, actually, I'm hoping tomorrow, we're launching a new tool for the kids, and we have an animated video. We've produced a song about reading. We've produced an animated video about reading, and the parents will be able to upload their child's face, and they'll be the star of the video. So on the Reader Donate page, instead of seeing a static, it's an attractive page now, but instead of seeing just a static photograph of the child they're going to sponsor, they're going to see a child as the star of an animated video. Fun stuff. We feel like that would be something that parents will want to share, that aunts and uncles, grandparents will want to share, and we're hoping that those get extraordinarily viral, even more so than is currently happening with what we do now. So very excited about that.
Wow. So you guys are leveraging the power of social media, the power of video, and the simplicity of all of that today technologically, and in the process, like you said, essentially making by far the easiest fundraiser really they could be a part of. That's incredible. And oh, by the way, you're helping kids be inspired to read more, which we all know is a lifelong habit that is hugely impactful. That's awesome. That is really, really, really cool.
As an aside, just for anyone who's looking at a fundraiser, for a fundraising administrator, sitting at their desk or waiting in their car for their Starbucks, they can log on to their dashboard and see all of the results live in real time. And we give them extraordinary management tools to see who's participating, who's not, and tools to motivate the non-participants to become participants. So there's no other fundraiser out there that gives you the resources. If you're a go-getter and want to manage your fundraiser, there's no other fundraiser out there that gives you the exposure to data that we do.
So let's talk a little bit about midway on your homepage. You share about kind of how the breakdown is money-wise. If you don't mind explaining that a little bit, as far as, like it says, 15% goes to the readers. What exactly does that mean?
So we know that in order for a fundraiser to do well, the kids need to be excited about it. So we give the kids a vested interest in the donations that they personally receive to support the fundraiser. We do that 2 ways. One, we give them free prize for building their Read-a-Thon page, whether they get a donation or not. Our goal is for every child to get a prize and build their page. But for the kids who do get sponsors, they keep 15% of their personal donations to spend on prizes in a prize store, kind of like they do with a Chuck E. Cheese pizza, game room, that sort of stuff. Our current prize center has 170 prizes they can choose from. They shop on their own, so they spend their money any way they want. Prizes range as low as 25 cents and go up to $90. Out of the remaining money raised, the school gets a check for 75% of the cash raised. So between the student and the school, they're keeping 90% of the money that's raised. We charge a 7% fee for licensing and all of the materials that we provide. And then 3% is kind of standard for online transaction and credit card fees. So that accounts for the 100% of the money raised.
Wow, that's incredible. So do you have an average that a typical, I know they're across the board and every school's different, but do you have an average of what a typical school can raise using your program?
Right. We would say a 400-person elementary school should raise between $20,000 and $35,000. We've had schools approaching $60,000 so far, and we're hoping for our first $100,000 school this season. And interestingly, on the other side of the equation, we have a lot of Title I schools that use our program because they're frustrated. They're in economically weak areas, and product fundraising simply doesn't work. So a lot of them were leery of trying an internet fundraiser, but what a lot of those schools found was they had friends and family that weren't in those areas that would be happy to support the child. So even Title I schools are raising $6,000, $8,000, $10,000, $12,000.
And that's a big deal for them.
Absolutely.
A really, really
Absolutely.
big deal.
They call us and we look at their numbers and they raise $8,000 and we're going, oh gosh, we don't want this phone call because that was terrible. And they call and they say, man, Howard, that was 4 times more than we've ever raised ever. This is fabulous. So we think across the board, it's absolutely the best elementary school PTA fundraiser out there.
So Howard, what's your vision for the next, 2, 3, 5 years with Read-a-Thon? Where do you hope to see it go? That type of thing.
We just signed an agreement with a partner that I can't identify that currently sells to 28,000 school libraries. Their burden for growth is funding restrictions in the libraries. So they feel like if they can introduce a program that allows libraries to raise a little bit of money, that they would substantially grow their business. And you're talking about a company doing better than $150 million in sales now. But we just inked an agreement where they are going to promote Read-a-Thon to all 28,000 of their schools as a means to not only raise more money, to spend more money, but to cover the costs of their current fundraiser. So we're excited about that. We're moving, in addition to schools and PTAs, an underserved market is elementary school libraries. Other than a Scholastic book fair, there are no other real options to raise good money. And even a Scholastic book fair requires a lot of volunteers and you make very little money. We have school libraries. In fact, we have one in Texas that just finished and raised $28,000 for the second year. She is ecstatic. So we're hoping that that's a market that we'll have to ourselves. And then just organic growth is just happening. Our growth it's essentially vertical at this point. So we're making plans for rapid growth. We brought our own printing facilities in-house, expanded our warehouse and prize center. Right now, the future looks good for Read-a-Thon.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Well, Howard, I appreciate you taking time out of your busy schedule to come on, and I am really excited about your program. Of all the folks that I've come across at trade shows and what have you in the last couple of years, yours is hands down the one I've been most excited about sharing to folks, just because I do so believe in what you're doing on the fundraising side and on the reading side. And I really think, as your success is showing, that you guys have hit it out of the park. And there's nothing but blue skies and good things to come for you guys and for the schools that you work with. So appreciate your time. Thanks for sharing with the School Zone podcast listeners. And any parting thoughts at all before we hang it up for the day?
No, I appreciate your including us. I appreciate, too, your comments, because getting affirmation of our belief that this is a better way is always encouraging. So when other people look at what we're doing and they get it, it's encouraging to us. So I appreciate that, and I appreciate you putting us on the podcast.
Well, awesome, Howard. Thank you very much, and we'll talk soon.
Very good, Matt. Nice talking to you.
This episode of the School Zone podcast is brought to you by School Spirit Vending, hassle-free year-round fundraising for your school. At School Spirit Vending, we do all the work. You cash the check.